And good morning. All right, y'all. I'm Lauren Howman. I am one of the coaches with Freedom from Alcohol, and I have Ben with me this morning. And Ben is a recent graduate of our program, and I just wanted to bring him on for 10-15 minutes this morning to share his story. So, Ben, good morning.
Good morning. How's it going?
It's going well. So funny. Because we caught up just a little bit before this started, and then it's like we're live. All right, good morning.
Yeah, we're on.
And
Go.
you're on the radio. All right. So, Ben, would you mind just sharing with us a little bit about your history? Everybody on this page is here because they're a little curious about what it would look like if they decided to leave alcohol in the past. And share with us a little bit about where you were when you reached out to us and what was going on in life in regards to alcohol.
Yeah, absolutely. The first word that comes to mind when I reached out to you all is despair. I was sort of at this point in my life where, I'd been drinking for the past 12 or 13 years, pretty much every day. It was and slowly, kind of over time, and maybe not slowly, maybe quickly, alcohol had become the number one relationship in my life, right? Like everything was second to that. It was where my days revolved around planning when I would start drinking, and then what was happening maybe later in that day or the next day, kind of planning ahead, just this constant work around trying to figure that out. And what I hadn't realized during that time is that all of my other relationships sort of went by the wayside, right? And then there became a lot of lying and manipulation and deceit, doing things that, sort of lines I would start crossing that I never really imagined that I would. And so I started having some epiphanies around this, maybe about a year ago, where I started to go I don't really have any friends. I don't have anyone I have people that I know, but I have no one in my life that knows what's going on with me.
Right.
And it started to feel super lonely. And it was almost like, the alcohol would numb that. And I needed more and more, right, to get to that point. And so finally, one day I became so desperate, and I think I'd found you and Chris on TikTok, and I liked what was being said there, and I was like, they seem like they might have it together, right? And I can relate with some of the things that are going in my life today that they're, they said happened to them. So I just reached out to Chris, and Chris got back to me right away. And that sort of started me kind of on this journey over the past 100 and some days.
Yeah. So now fast forward 100 something days, you're sober. And tell us what life is like compared to when you were drinking to now, because you've had a lot of changes in your life. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very different. And then I guess the thing that I would want to add is kind of, 100 and some days ago, there were a lot of crazy things going on in my life. My mom had just recently passed away. I was going through a divorce. I was, like I said, I didn't really have any friends. My life was just a mess. And so, once I sort of made that decision, I need help, right? And I started to get honest and do that. I was presented with a list of tools, right, from you guys. You guys were like, do this and this and this and this and this. And I was like, I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this. And I did. And I think as a result of that, it's pretty incredible to me. I sent you that picture of me, the difference between me, 100 and some days ago and today. And I was taken aback by it. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe what, that change.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's just the outside, right? On the inside, I think that's been the most important stuff, is where I've got some friends today. Shortly after I reached out to you guys, 2 days later, when I started this journey, I actually lost my job. And so that kind of kicked that on top, on top of all that. And then, so I kind of had to find a new job in all of this, and I did. And it's been, so the stuff on the inside, my confidence now is worlds away from where it was. I gave up a lot for alcohol, right? I gave up my confidence and you know, my inner peace and my serenity and all that stuff, you know, just for sort of a quick fix for a really long time. And nothing about this has been, I mean, I know like on one hand, like we can look on the outside and go like, yeah, like that's a remarkable change in a short amount of time. However, I will say that like none of this is a quick fix, right? Like none of this is an instant gratification, right? Like I have to do things that take time. And it's taken some work to get here. So, but today I have a very, a much more routine lifestyle. And looking back, if you had told me like 100 days ago, like you're gonna, like, I thought this was gonna be boring. I thought this was gonna suck. I thought I was gonna hate everything and just kind of live this like kind of mindless, boring
Yes.
existence. And it's the opposite. And I can't believe I'm the one saying this because I would have listened to myself 4 months ago and been like, yeah, that's BS, right? That's
Yeah.
BS. And I'm here to say it's actually not. My life is like, I have expansion in my life. All these like wonderful things are happening. I have a foundation today and I'm building on that foundation. And the rewards from that are like really incredible. Like I said, I have friends, I like go do stuff. I don't think about like, oh, I'm gonna have to drink around this. I like get to go on adventures today, right? And like do spontaneous things. That's fun. And the adventure and the connection that I'm creating around that's like really, really cool. So kind of a long answer to your question there, but
No, that's exactly what we needed to hear though, because it's all from the your experience that
yeah.
other people need to hear this because you know, when I quit drinking, I didn't even, if you had told me I could make it like 3 to 5 days without drinking, I would have been like BS because
Yeah.
I'd already done that. I'd already tried. And when I would make it 2 or 3 days without drinking, I would be like this like dumb, super proud of myself. Like, look, well, I don't have a problem because I can go 2, 3 days without. Um, those are the people that have a problem, right? Because there's no reason to
Yeah.
be proud that you're not poisoning yourself
Right.
except for every third day.
Right.
So from where you started to where you are now, of course, guys, if you're watching this on the Freedom from Alcohol Facebook page, which is just our free support page, you can scroll back a couple of days and Ben posted a before and after, like right when he quit drinking versus like a couple days ago. And I think how much weight have you lost? Like 40 pounds or something?
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Lost a lot. Yeah. Lost a lot.
And
Yep.
that's really significant. But what I see is in that picture too, is the before you look kind of dead in the face, like you were
Totally.
drowning in your own sorrow,
Yeah.
no light in your eyes. And then fast forward to that after pick. And like you said, there's confidence and you're feeling good. And by the way, guys, I'm on East Coast time at 10:12 right now, but it's only 7 o'clock where Ben is. And he's up. He agreed to a 7 a.m. That's when we used to meet because he's not drinking, he's not hungover, he's up in the morning. What have you done this morning already?
Yeah. So I got up a few hours ago. I walked my dog for an hour and then I went walking with my dad for about 3 miles.
Mhm.
I did a little bit of meditation before we hopped on this, just to, you know, kind of get centered for our conversation here. And then I'll probably go do a run before I go into work. So,
Oh
um,
my gosh.
yeah.
It's drastically different from the Ben who was rolling out of bed just to kind of make it in
Oh
time
my
to
God.
not be late to work and just kind of barely show up and work until it was time to go, right?
That's exactly right. So I could do it all again and then be sick the next morning. And so like just like just not being sick, right? Like just being able to like go outside in the mornings here. It's pretty incredible.
Absolutely. I'm so excited for you and so proud of you. One of the things I love the most, and you've heard me say this a million times, is just seeing how far people can go. And this journey has been 100% you. You're the one that dedicated to it and said, I am doing this. I am sick of my own bullshit. This has got to stop. I'm slowly killing myself. Everything is falling apart because of it. And I think a lot of people here will relate to the fact that you don't end up with friends, you don't have anybody in your life because we put ourselves in this tiny little box because the mental gymnastics of drinking to the level that you were doing, to the level that I was doing, to the level of most of us that are like, hey, might need some help here, is that we don't want anything getting in the way of it. So if my kids wanted to go somewhere that didn't include alcohol, I'm like, let's go here
Yeah.
instead. And I would just kind of guide them.
Yep.
And they didn't know what I was doing, of course, thank God. But so always trying to steer activities towards that. If I'd already picked up a glass of wine and now you're like, hey, you want to go to the movies? I'm like, no, because I've already started drinking and that's going to mess with my buzz. And then I'm going to have to start over. And I'm only allotted a certain amount every day. And I got to get up in the morning. So what time can I start drinking? And when do I have to be in bed? And, how many, it was nonstop. So for a lot of people, you hit right on a point that you were like, you thought you were going to be bored. And same. because drinking was all I knew. It was like my one activity I was doing consistently
Yeah.
every day without fail. So replacing with all of the things that you've just done this morning, going on a walk with dad, taking the dog for a hike, and you're running how many miles a day at this point, typically in a row?
Yeah, I did my long run on Saturday, and that was almost 7 miles.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Prior to quitting drinking, you were not running at all.
No, I could like probably barely get around the block.
Yeah. Yeah. And that would have been like a low army crawl on your belly, right?
That's right. Well, I was thinking about that this morning when I was walking my dog. Like we walked for 30 minutes. I remember there were times when I would have such anxiety, that anxiety where like you just want to get back in the house. And that's me. I know not everyone was like that, but I just wanted to be inside alone by myself. But I literally couldn't go down the block without getting that like the jitters and like I got to get back inside. I got to get, and the poor dog was like, I just want to be outside for like more than 3 minutes. Right.
Right. Right.
So
Like,
we
yeah,
walked
dad, what's going on?
yeah. So like 30 minutes today. And I was like, we could keep going, but I got to go do some other stuff right now, and it was just, yeah, it's nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what would you say to anybody out there that's kind of thinking about sobering up or getting sober curious? What would you say to those people who are thinking about reaching out to us, to either Matt, myself, or Chris, to have a conversation about what it would look like to get started with coaching, to start gaining freedom back? What would you say, knowing how skeptical you were?
Yeah, I would say it's scary. And I would say also you don't really have anything to lose, right? Just having a conversation, like no one's going to like put some magic spell on you to like make you be
Woo.
sober or whatever, right?
If we could, we would.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. If I could share this experience that I've had, I would want people to know that like it's work. It's hard work. It's not easy. It's not the easy road. It's really not. But it's so beyond worth anything that I've ever done before, I would say, honestly. It's real work. It's real like payoff. And if I had like, I think for me, like I had to be all in, right? Like if I was actually going to go this route, like I had to be all in, right? I can't give myself outs, right? And I think I tried that for a long time. I was like, well, like you said, like I'll try for a few days, but I always knew I was like, I'm going to go back to it, right? Like I can convince myself of whatever I want to convince myself of. But this was different. This was an absolute like letting go of it for me. And that's really kind of what did it for me. But not everyone. I don't even think you have to be there. I think just being open to like hearing something different, hearing someone else's experience with like a different way of life and a different way to do things. But man, it's scary. And I get that. Like, and I understand that like I wasn't ready till I wasn't ready. I mean, if you talked to me 3 years ago, I'd have been like, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to do, so like we're all ready when we are. But I would say like, I don't know, plant that seed within yourself, right? Like, what do you have to lose, right? Like there's just like you just have a conversation, like no one's, and that's what's been great about like you and Chris and everyone in this group is that like there's no judgment, right? Like when I first talked to Chris, he was just like, tell me what's going on. And I said, what was going on? And he said, that sucks. And I was like, I agree, that sucks. Like, and he wasn't even trying, and and like in all of our conversations, like never once has anyone ever tried to convince me of something or try to cajole me into doing something. Everyone has just gone like, this is what I've done. I relate with what you're talking about. And my life is infinitely far away, from where it was for where you're at. So, and that's been great because it's allowed me to go like, all right, what'd you do? Like, tell me about it. I know like on a lot of our calls, Lauren, like I made sure to show up like with questions, like,
Yeah.
tell me about how you're doing this. Like, how does this work for you?
Yeah.
And then the other thing I would say is that like the first 30 days are rough, right? Like they just are. For me, they were. I remember, calling you or Chris or texting and just being like a mess of emotion. And like, I didn't know where it's coming from. Like, and I think today I know that like I've been suppressing a lot of that, with alcohol. So it was like, they would just come out in like outbursts and like, I don't even know what's happening to me right now. And that part's hard. So it's difficult, but it's like, I genuinely believe anyone can do it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you're right. You don't need to be at rock bottom. And I don't even think you were at rock bottom.
Right.
You had a
Right.
ways to fall still.
That's
And
right.
so It is work. There is no Band-Aid fix. We don't want a dry drunk, and we talk about this all the time. We don't want the outcome for Ben's coaching program to be that he's not drinking, but he's pissed off and he misses his
Right.
alcohol.
Right.
We want to flip the script completely and have a completely different person coming out the other end because of mindset. You no longer want to drink. And yeah, so it is work and you have to be ready. Absolutely. If you had tried to get me to quit drinking before I was ready, never would have happened. And honestly, I kept trying that on my own. And then when I was truly ready, it was like, okay, let's go. So no band-aids. We don't want a band-aid because
Yeah.
we don't want to rip the band-aid off and find that we're still bleeding 6 years later, 20 years later. I
Right.
don't want you to still be concerned about whether you're going to drink or not when you're 80. Like you'll
Right.
just know that it's not for you. Um, but yeah, so thank you so much for coming on here today. I would say, our program's for anybody that if you're here watching this, you're on the path of needing help because people who
Right.
do not have a problem drinking aren't
That's right.
worried about it, right?
That's right.
But I think what you really paint well here is the bigger life that's waiting for you on the other side.
Yeah.
And with support, you can do it alone. Absolutely. But with support, you get this whole community. And you're right. Like I was just laughing at you because you said something funny. And it was about your ex drinking habits. And it was funny to me because I get it, because I've been there.
Yeah.
So there is no judgment here. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I get it. And I always tell people, like, if you've done it, I've done it too, or I've thought about it, or I know somebody else who did it.
Yeah.
We're all like
Yeah.
living this experience where we think we're the only ones hiding the amount of alcohol we're drinking, or lying to our loved ones, or staying in instead of going to the movies because we already started drinking. Like that sounds absurd, but if you've
Right.
been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And you're like, oh yeah,
Good.
but I used to, instead of saying no to the movies, I would just sneak it in with me and just take it with
Right.
me. So,
Can I add one thing to that?
yeah, yeah.
Because that has been so important to me, is that honesty piece. Because if I was not honest with you and Chris and others, I don't know that I'd be where I'm at today. Like that's just been super important for me because it shined a light on it, right? Because I can lie to myself and hide things from myself, but when I say it out loud, it's clear. I create some accountability for myself. That's been really important for me. There are things that I've talked about that I swore that I was going to like take to my grave,
Oh yeah.
and the freedom that comes from talking to someone. You said it great. Like we've all been there. Like we know. No one's like, people laugh at me like now, and now I can laugh at that stuff and be like, oh my God, let me tell you what I did. Right? It's absurd.
Yeah.
And you laugh and we laugh together, and that's like the joy and the magic, and that like really like gets to me. And so that was super important to me. So thanks for saying that.
Yeah, it's super healing to have people understand your experience because, like, for myself, I didn't have anybody that understood what I was going through. I had people that had watched me suffer with alcohol, so
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
supportive of me quitting. I did it on my own and it was hard, so I don't recommend it. But I at least had people that were supportive and were like, yeah, girl, don't go back. Cause like now that you've said that you're done, we saw what was going over there and we were all worried about you, the people that did know. But even for me being in this community now as a coach and having all of these clients and even like clients that are Chris's or Matt's, we're all in this community of people who just get it. It's been really healing for me
Mhm.
from from the from the aspect of just being in the community as a
Yeah.
person, not as being a coach. So, and then in our relationship with our clients, even it's healing for me as well. And what I'll say that's really funny too, you made me think of, I've got a client right now going through the emotions. So when you quit
Mm.
drinking, we can start experiencing joy, but we can also start experiencing the things that we were numbing out.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's so many parts of this journey that are normal, and you're like, what's happening? Why am I crying all the time? Why
Yeah.
am I
Yeah.
feeling so much? Why am I so happy? When's the other shoe going to drop? Well,
Mhm.
if you've been numbing out for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, you haven't been feeling the highs or the lows. So they are coming and you'll
Yeah.
navigate them perfectly well. It just takes a little bit of time and patience and practice. But um, now where you're sitting here running 7 miles on a freaking weekend and kind of loving life and just kind of open to all the possibilities. I just want to say congratulations and thanks for
Thank
being
you.
part of our community. And I know
Yeah.
that you will be in our community for a good long time, not because you
Yep.
need us to quit drinking or to stay quit, but because it's just a really great place to be. And I don't like to say it lightly, but like it's a family.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. It's I'll continue showing up, and the relationships that I've made with you and other people, they're really important to me. And I know that like I'll look back on this as like probably like one of the like most intense special times of my life. And so I want to stay connected to that. And then of course I keep hearing from you all, and continue to learn and expand that foundation. So I'll be forever grateful to you and Chris and this community. And yeah, I just a lot of gratitude there. So thank you.
And right back at you, because you've allowed Chris and I and Matt to take our pain and turn it into purpose and help other
Yeah,
people with it. And
awesome.
you just being here on this interview is doing the same thing. So we love it. So we'll see you tonight. Monday's my favorite time because we do a Monday night just for our clients where we all get together as a community and we either have a topic or we just talk and share our experiences. And then for anybody who's interested, we are doing book club on Tuesday nights now, 8 p.m. EST. Which we're doing a really cool book this time because, and maybe you can share a little bit on this, Ben, before we go. And I know you got to go to work soon. We're doing The Secret, and The Secret is not an anti-alcohol book, but what we find in when we quit drinking is that we have this whole life now that we need to build and a whole new life that we get to kind of pick from a catalog because we start from nothing. You had no friends, you had no hobbies, you had no job, right? So now we get to start plucking and picking how we're going to live our life. So that's why we picked The Secret, because it's a mindset book. It's all about gratitude and thinking our way into positive situations. So when you think back on your journey with us, it's interesting, isn't it, that we don't always talk about alcohol on our calls. Like it
Yeah,
might be a minute, but like we're actually talking about life and like how are we
right.
moving forward and how are we building and how are we developing?
Right. Right, absolutely. And that's something that strikes me like every day is I go like, okay, when I removed alcohol, like my life got a lot better right away. I mean, like very quickly, like I removed it. However, I was still stuck with me, right? And so I was like, all right, well, like the alcohol's gone and now I have all of this, right? And so you said that so perfectly, like we can kind of pick and choose, right? The like how we want to grow and I found all kinds of stuff like yeah, like the book you mentioned there, or I'm reading right now, I'm rereading a book on like Buddhist recovery and like recovery principles around Buddhism, and that's really cool. And I'm sure I'll move on to like the next thing. I've read like a whole bunch of books since I started this journey. And there are some things that I'm like, I really resonate with and some things that I don't. And I just kind of keep the ones that I resonate with. And maybe down the road, I'll come back to the others. But yeah, it's not like the stuff I'm reading today isn't like, here's how I don't drink today. Right. It's
Don't
like,
drink, don't drink. You can't read that
right.
all day long. Right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's like, I got it. Like I have the tools today to not take a drink. Now I need the tools to like help me like sort of navigate life and, learn how to deal with me.
Awesome. Well, thank
Yeah.
you for being here today
Thank
and
you.
for just being kick ass as a client and as a person in general, and for really just living up to your fullest potential and continuing to grow, because that's what we're all about here. So, guys, if you're looking, if you're curious, you know where to find us, reach out to Chris, me, or Matt, and we can start the conversation up. If it's not for you, again, we're not going to twist your arm and, hold you underwater or anything, right? And we're not going to slap drinks out of your hand either. It's not how we operate. We teach you to be accountable to yourself and give you the tools to where you actually stop wanting to drink. So that's pretty cool. Reach out if you have any questions. Join us live for book club tomorrow night. And just the Freedom from Alcohol page is the place to look if you want to look for any upcoming events or any information you might need, and tons of support. All right, guys, take care.